It is good to Sunday morning after our wonderful rain as we gather for an hour of devotion and meditation. And I have a subject of particular importance, vital significance for our meditation this morning. And in one sense, it may take more the form of a class lecture than our usual Sunday morning service, but it is of such vital importance to each and every one that I wish to consider it with you this morning. And as we recognize that importance in relationship to our spiritual lives, I'm sure there will be an opportunity of blessing for each and every one. Let us have a moment of devotion. Our gracious Lord and King, we thank Thee for the holy joy we have of letting Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, that we may receive into manifestation the evidences of Thy kingdom on earth, that Thy dominion may be made manifest, and that all who will respond, of every race and color and creed, may be blessed in this hour and always, to Thy glory and to the blessing of the children of men. For Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever, in the Christ. Amen. The Master emphasized many times in many ways the importance of the heart, or the feeling realm. And there is no statement in Holy Scripture more significant than his words, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." The privilege of seeing God in manifest action on earth is the greatest and highest goal to which any of us may aspire. And to the degree that we let ourselves be dedicated to that fulfillment on earth, we have the responsibility of letting our hearts become pure. In recent meditations, we have given this subject considerable attention, and in our meditations last evening, we had an opportunity to make a new approach to this subject. And there is one aspect of it which has not been adequately realized here or anywhere. I have given a great deal of meditation to the possible ways by which this particular aspect might be deeply realized in relationship to ourselves. We realize to start with that it is necessary that we have the right goal, that we let go of those things which would seem to produce self-aggrandizement, self-satisfaction, those things that are self-centered, and letting go into the divine pattern, permit ourselves to be coordinated in the body of those who are letting themselves come to point in relationship to God. Not scattered cells moving this way and that, but a unified body through which God can act and be seen in action on earth. One of the problems we have in relationship to spiritual development comes under the factor of what it takes to turn the individual from his goal. What it takes to cause an individual to go off on a tangent. What it takes to stop forward movement. Whatever it is that has the power to stop the individual in that forward movement is the individual's God, and a false God to which he gives allegiance, so that he never comes to the point of truly worshiping God in spirit and in truth. Many human beings are subject to a process of being stopped without realizing the fundamental reasons. This comes in the range of what we speak of as human weakness or human failure to allow the fulfillment which is possible to us, an opportunity of manifestation in our lives. And this morning, I would like to read to you a little from a certain book. This book is dealing with hypnotism. And I wish to clarify the point as it stands in relationship to hypnotism, so that you can see that what we are doing is the opposite of hypnotism. But when we read and consider that which is basic to hypnotism, I trust we will have a sufficient comprehension of that which is involved, so that we can see the contrast and see that which is required of us if we would permit the divine fulfillment to appear in our lives. In this book, we have the basic outline of the approach to hypnotism, or the process of establishing hypnotism. I'm going to read only the first few pages in order to form the basis of our meditation this morning. This book is by George H. Estabrook, and is a text on the subject of hypnotism, an authority on this subject. This unconscious mind is much nearer the surface in some people than in others. While the average reader thinks of hypnotism only in terms of the deepest stage or somnambulism, there are actually many degrees of the trance. Only one person in every 5 has the unconscious so accessible that the conscious can be completely unseated and the operator deal directly with the unconscious. Now here we're coming into the range of the factors which are of particular importance in our meditation this morning. Now you'll notice this statement: this unconscious mind is much nearer the surface in some people than in others. Now I would put that another way. With some people, the conscious mind is not nearly as strong as a governing aspect of being as it is in others. Yet we find evidences of true hypnotic phenomena in almost everybody. Now there is another factor. To whatever degree any human being is subject to any unreal thing, he is, in actual fact, whether he likes to face it or not, hypnotized. Every unreal thought pattern, attitude, function in any way whatsoever is, in actual fact, a result of hypnotism. Not the ordinary processes of hypnotism, perhaps, but it is still hypnotism. Now, here we see some very interesting things. Susceptibility to hypnosis seems to depend on certain personality traits which we do not know and cannot influence. Now, I would challenge that statement. Susceptibility to hypnosis seems to depend on certain personality traits which we do not know and cannot influence. I say that we do know and that we can influence those personality traits. And what is it that fundamentally you are learning here? You are learning how to develop those traits of personality which permit you to remain free from the hypnotic suggestions of the unreal world around you. Every human being who comes out of the outer world pattern begins to move toward spiritual enlightenment is subject to the hypnotic influence of suggestions that have been firmly established in the subconscious mind by reason of association, experience, teaching, etc. And the individual learns to believe these things which have been suggested to him merely on the basis of the fact that they have been suggested, not on the basis of his intelligent, conscious mind determining for himself whether or not they are the truth, merely on the basis of the fact that they have been suggested since babyhood. Every distortion in the human being in relationship to his emotional realm, his mental processes, and virtually all physical conditions have been induced by this pattern of hypnosis which has been brought about by the repeated suggestion of false ideas until these things have produced hallucination in the individual. He believes things that are not true. He has a concept of things that do not belong to the pattern of his life. And he has not used his conscious mind as the guardian angel with respect to that which is going into his subconscious mind. And wherever the human being is asked to relax the function of the conscious mind in relationship to the operator, whatever he may be called, reaching into the subconscious and supposedly doing something in the subconscious, you are playing with hypnosis that produces false effects and dangerous, damaging effects. Here you have found that every step of the way your conscious mind has been challenged to think, to actually think, to disregard the prejudices of old, to disregard the concepts that may have been established in you because of various repetitions from out of the past, various processes of suggestion to which you have been subject, so that your conscious mind may learn to be strong and a true guardian angel of that which enters the subconscious realm. And once you begin to have a strong guardian angel, your conscious mind, you can take care of the hallucinations that remain without all of the falderall and fiddle-de-dee that many people attempt to utilize in supposedly clearing the subconscious mind. But let us continue. We do know the personality traits, and we can influence them. We can develop them. In all these early stages of hypnotism, we notice a curious lethargy, an unwillingness on the subject's part to exert himself. Now, I've noticed that in human beings who were supposedly functioning on a perfectly sane and normal basis, but were actually under the hypnotic conviction that they couldn't do something about certain limitations within themselves. And it was nothing but hypnosis, self-induced or induced by acquiescence to circumstance. In all these early stages of hypnotism, we notice a curious lethargy and unwillingness on the subject's part to exert himself. Very frequently, when we dare the subject to open his eyes, bend his arm, or stand up, he makes no effort whatsoever. Now, those are the people that never get anywhere spiritually. They're too easily stopped. They're too quick to say, I can't. What's the use? If we question him afterward, we find that he heard the challenge, was certain that he could move the muscles in question if he wished to, but he just couldn't be bothered to try. Hypnosis, ladies and gentlemen. And once you begin to realize the degree to which you have been subject to hypnosis, induced one way or another in your past pattern of life, you begin to see that you have not, under that state, been a free moral agent, and that it's time to learn to come out from under the hypnotic influences of all these unreal patterns. That is my business, to help people out of these hypnotic spells into which they have fallen. It can be done. It's quite easily done if the individual wants to. But if he is subject to this lethargy and doesn't want to be bothered, he will seek to find some other way that he deems to be easier. Some idea or concept or belief or pattern of life which will presumably let him do what he wants to do without making the effort to do what he thinks he doesn't want to do or thinks he cannot do. He remains a slave to the hypnotic spell that he has received into his own mind and heart from some unreal source. This must be listed as one of the earliest and best signs of success in inducing the hypnotic trance. Notice that. The individual in question could have done something if he had wished to, but he just couldn't be bothered to try. He was feeling quite comfortable and wished to remain so. Now, isn't that a picture of humanity in the general sense? Thoroughly hypnotized with respect to their concepts of their own limitations. They may readily admit they have hallucinations or limitations emotionally or otherwise. But that's the way they are. And they want to find a way out that does not require that they exert any effort. It does not require them to stand up and be men and women. And we see it all around us. And it is not all cleared away from some who are within the sound of my voice. Now that state, that wishy-washy acquiescence, the desire merely to be comfortable, is listed as one of the earliest and best signs of success in inducing the hypnotic trance. Now, did you ever feel that sign working in yourself, moving toward the hypnotic trance of death? Now, until the conscious mind has become a true guardian angel at the gate of the subconscious mind and heart, it is utterly and absolutely impossible to secure a state of purity of heart. It is not by lessening the force, the stamina of the conscious mind that we are going to achieve anything lasting and worthwhile. It is by strengthening the conscious mind, teaching it to think, teaching it to be what it ought to be, teaching it to be selective with respect to that which is allowed to control, visually perceived, heard, felt, vibrationally perceived in feeling, so that there is a selective process at work, a conscious, intelligent, selective process that is carried on the basis of the recognition of truth, the acceptance of an orientation point of truth, something that is valid, that the human being is recognized as such, and to which he can orient himself in all of the procedures of his life. Until we begin to realize that it is not by trying to go into the subconscious and clearing something out in order to let the individual attain a state of semblance to balance or normalcy, we are going to be subject to a lot of hallucinations and false concepts and beliefs which make it seem that there is some sort of shortcut to the ideal state or to the state of self-fulfillment, when such is not the case. There is no shortcut, and anyone who suggests a shortcut is either himself deluded or is deliberately deluding another. It is a delusion and an hallucination. There is no such thing. Millions of people down through the ages have thought they could find a shortcut and have destroyed themselves in the effort. It doesn't work. Now, it is true that there is the necessity of a pure heart. But if we're going to have a pure heart, there must be a guardian of that heart. There must be a control with respect to what is going into it and what is allowed to come out of it in positive expression of life. And as long as the conscious mind has not learned to think, has not learned to persevere, has not learned to hold steady in the face of difficulties or opposition or problems that may arise, pressures that may appear, there is simply going to be a giving way of the guardian angel that simply lets any concept or belief or idea to flood down into the subconscious mind. And there will be impurities, mixtures, and hallucinations. It is not, as some have supposed, and it's simply a matter of clearing the subconscious, or the unconscious, or whatever it may be called. It is a matter of establishing a conscious understanding of the truth and developing those personality characteristics which make for a stable mind that is governed by the truth, not governed by feelings or beliefs or prejudices, anything that has not passed the test of truth itself. There can be tests with respect to so-called love that will still allow hallucinations. You can say, well, I test everything on the basis of love or love for God, and if it passes that test, it's all right. Oh, no, it isn't. You can sincerely and earnestly think you test things on that basis and be subject to delusion. The only test that can be depended upon is the truth. As the Master put it, and ye shall know the truth. And knowing the truth with a conscious mind will make you free. Free from the controls and influences of impurities out of the subconscious mind, or subjection to the hypnotic influences of the unreal world around you. One of the most difficult problems we have in ministry is to get people to reach a point where they will admit and face the fact that they have been under this hypnotic spell that has come out of the unreal world that makes them think that they have such and such a limitation and they can't do anything about it, or that produces this lethargic attitude. All they want is to be comfortable, and they don't want to be bothered. The comfort of their beliefs and their concepts and their prejudices, they don't want to give it up. It's too comfortable. They have accepted partial hypnosis, and they like it. Now, until a person reaches a point where he does not accept the degrees to which he has allowed himself to be hypnotized, till he is ready to reject it, until he is willing to be uncomfortable to change it, we cannot get anywhere. That is why I've emphasized over and over again this point of honesty. The dishonest person will sell his own birthright for a mess of being comfortable with his own concepts and ideas and beliefs and hallucinations. Blessed ones, until we begin to see that every limitation, every hallucination, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, has a relationship to some hypnotic influence from out of the realm of the unreal, we cannot achieve adequately that which is our goal. And you can't achieve it by trying to go into the subconscious mind and change it around. We use spiritual psychiatry, which has for its first purpose the development of the mind, the conscious mind, in its ability to think, to inspire that conscious mind to a point where it will not accept any idea merely because it is advanced, merely because I say it or anyone else says it. Because that point must be subject to the tests of truth. If it passes, we accept it. If it does not, we reject it. Regardless of anything else, regardless of personal comfort or desire, regardless of anything. Because until we are true to the truth, we certainly cannot be true to God, true to ourselves, or to anyone else. And if we accept a limited state of life as an adequate goal, we are betraying God's trust in us, betraying our responsibilities to others. And if any human being decides that he or she wants to work out the pattern of life fulfillment on the basis of his own concepts and beliefs and desires, that individual is on a tangent that leads to nothingness. Not to purity of heart, but to a state where the heart becomes more and more a quagmire of impurities, until finally all so-called effort to clear it up ceases. The human being decides to be comfortable with his limitations, to accept them, to live with them. Blessed ones, these are the things that must be realized if there is to be the development of stability in mind and heart, which permits us to be true instruments for the working of God's Spirit on earth. The rejection of the hypnotic influences which we have received from out of the world. The idea that you can't. One of the worst hypnotic lies that has been projected into the consciousness of man is that God's power cannot manifest today. That the power of God, as Jesus Christ revealed it, cannot manifest in us. That is an overall hypnotic concept of the devil that has been projected into the consciousness of men and women, and they've accepted it when it makes them reject the possibility of letting God's power actually manifest in their own lives in any real sense with respect to healing of body or mind or heart or the living of life. And one of the hypnotic suggestions that comes out of the world is that if you work to find the fulfillment of yourself, live your own life, do the best you can, be as honest as you can, as sincere as you can, but just finding your own personal fulfillment, that is a good goal. It isn't. It's a lie. A damnable, contemptible lie. And until we begin to realize that it is only as a unit, coordinated members of one body, that we can let the power of God work through. We will be trying to achieve something on an individual basis which cannot be achieved. It is on the basis of true togetherness, true unification, true centering, that we achieve the purpose. So that there is agreement on earth, as the Master emphasized. Then we will find that the power of God is well able to do all things necessary in us and through us. But remember that until you have reached the point where you have a conscious mind that is ready and able and willing to stand as a strong guardian angel, you cannot achieve your goal. It is only when your mind becomes oriented in the truth, regardless of what you feel within yourself or around you or anything else, when your mind is ready to stand steady to the truth, regardless of anything, that will not give up, that will not quit, that will not become lethargic, regardless of anything, in pressure or uncomfortable situation, then you begin to have a guardian angel which will make it possible to begin the process of purifying your heart. And it will be very easy to do. It's very simple. Not the long, hard, difficult process that so many people imagine that it is. And trying to do that first is utterly useless, because the impurities will keep coming in as fast or faster than you can clear them out. But once you have the guardian angel of the conscious mind centered in truth, you have a basis of keeping out that which does not belong in the subconscious. And then the Spirit of God can work through you to clear the subconscious mind and heart, so that you too may begin to know the joy of having a pure heart and clean hands. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord, and who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. Or as the Master put it, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. They shall see God in action in their own lives and in the lives of others. They shall see God in action in circumstance and environment. They shall see God in action in the affairs of men. And they shall recognize that there is no obstacle, no situation, no condition so great, so difficult that it cannot be overcome by the power of God at work in the lives of the children of men. And so, we might well ask the question, what does it take to stop us, you, anyone? Give me the point of quitting in any individual, and I'll tell you how much that individual is worth from the standpoint of the power of God on earth. If he has any quitting point, he isn't worth very much. That's the point. If he'll quit under any pressure of life circumstance, he isn't worth very much. For it is the individual who has the stamina, the nobility, the dedication that will stand regardless of anything. The individual who has a conscious mind that is oriented to the truth, regardless of what he feels inside himself or around him or somewhere else, who stays true to the truth. And the truth makes him free. Free of subjection to all these hypnotic spells and influences that are in the world all around us. And human beings are in the habit of becoming subject to those hypnotic influences. That's the value of advertising. That's the terrible potentiality in television. And it's present in radio, newspapers, and everything else. Until you learn to have a guardian angel of a conscious mind that cannot be controlled by anything but the truth, you're in danger of being subject to the hypnotic spells of the unreal world. And you'll never be a true noble man or woman. So let us remember the Master's word. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And then you can begin to share that state of the blessed whose heart is pure, that they may begin to see God here and now on earth. Our gracious Lord, I thank Thee for these blessed ones here gathered, and for all who are with us in spirit, that all Thy children everywhere may arise as one body, and so yield to Thy control in truth, that all the unreal patterns of life may be cast out, and that each and every one who so responds may be made free to live the glorious life of liberty in the Christ.